Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking in today's thumbnail. In today's video, I want to share with you my best concoctions, my best layering combos, and some of the fragrances that I feel are ideal for layering. I want to teach you how to select a fragrance and how to detect if it's going to be good for layering or not, and with what type of scent profile. If that sounds interesting, stay tuned. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Moraima. This channel, I share some of my passions such as fragrance, self-care, and decor, mainly fragrances. If that is your jam, please check out a few videos and decide if you want to be a part of the scented tribe. We are a lot of fun over here, and I'm constantly bringing you fragrance videos for your enjoyment. To my returning subscribers, so excited to see you here. I know this has been requested. I know this is a really fun video to watch, so I'm going to share with you some of these fragrances that I love to layer, especially in this time of the year. Let's get started. I know that layering fragrances could be nerve-wracking and a little bit stressful. You don't know what matches with what, and you don't know if the third fragrance or the third layer that you are trying to achieve is going to smell good. I'm going to give you some tips so that you can look at your fragrances and really see if the fragrances that you are trying to match are going to work out. The very first thing that we have to think is that we're going to have top fragrances and that we're going to have base fragrances. In this particular scenario, we're just going to be layering two different types of fragrances. One is going to be pretty much like the top type of the fragrance. It's not the one that you're necessarily going to spray on top, but it's usually the lighter fragrance. Obviously, the fragrances that we're going to be diving into are going to be deeper, cooler weather type fragrances. I'm trying to cover anything that would be for right now, not necessarily for the summertime. Anything that would work for fall and winter are going to be the fragrances that we're going to be considering today. One of the things to pay attention is that you want to have a top fragrance and a bottom fragrance. What do I mean by that? A top layer fragrance usually is going to be your lighter fragrance, usually is going to be a sweeter fragrance, usually is going to be a fragrance that is going to be like the icing on the cake. And then your base fragrance is usually going to be your deeper fragrance, your fragrance that is going to be a little bit deeper, sexier, a little bit darker, and you just want to give it a twist, an extra twist. Or the other way around, you have a lighter fragrance, and by spraying just one or two sprays of a deeper fragrance, you take that lighter fragrance, that super sweet fragrance, and just gave it a little bit of depth. So the very first one, I'm going to cover first all of my top fragrances that I usually like to add to deeper fragrances. The very first one is Ooh La La by KABANEL. This is a beautiful hazelnut, super creamy saffron fragrance that has all the creaminess in the world. When I want to add a touch of nuttiness, but in a very creamy way, I feel that it has the quality of not overpowering another fragrance, or if I just want to deepen this fragrance, because this is a very light fragrance. I mean, the juice tells you a little bit, it's a very watery, but at the same time creamy. It's so difficult to explain because it's not deep, but it's creamy and nutty, which usually is a characteristic of a very deep type of fragrance, but this is not deep whatsoever. So I would add, potentially, this would be the fragrance that I would want to deepen, and I would add something that is a little bit deeper. And when I talk a little bit deeper, then I have to say, okay, so if this is creamy, if this is nutty, if this is velvety, then what do I want my final result? Do I want my final result to be more vanilla and creamy and nutty, or do I want my final result to be even more nutty, maybe even woody, and then the creaminess would be pretty much on the background, depending on what is my actual outcome. If I want my outcome to be more woody and nutty, then I would add a fragrance that its main composition is nutty and woody and not necessarily sweet. There's gonna be a lot of tangents, guys, so please grab a snack, grab a coffee or a drink or whatever of your drink of your choice, because it's very difficult to explain how we can make these decisions. I'm going to show you some of my favorites, obviously, because these are going to be our examples, but at the end of the day, you know, your preferred method or your preferred choice of the final outcome is going to be what you are going to be deciding on. Play along with all of these fragrances. So I would potentially layer this fragrance with Milk by Commodity, because this is creamy as well as Ooh La La, but at the same time, this has a little bit of, I believe, mahogany wood. So the wood with the nuttiness would definitely go really well together. It would turn this fragrance that cannot necessarily handle like the cool weather and the, you know, deep temperatures of winter. It would turn this fragrance into a fragrance with this added in a fragrance that can definitely handle the cooler weather. However, when you commit to these two fragrances, then you have to know that the creaminess and the milkiness and the sweetness and the fluffiness of the whipped cream from milk is going to transfer into this. So potentially just 1 spritz of this or 2 spritz of this, and then the rest just oh la la. Another fragrance that I would definitely, you know, why not mix with would be Vanilla 28. So obviously Vanilla 28 is the fragrance that, you know, we mix with everything. So now we are bringing even more sweetness to these nutty, creamy fragrance, where now this is going to enhance really well. Is it going to be as deep as with milk? Not necessarily, because Vanilla 28 is not as powerful. Another fragrance that I would love to layer ooh la la with would be Silky Woods, because I feel that the creaminess and the woodiness would go really well with the creaminess of ooh la la. But anyways, I don't want to get too much into the combos right now. Let's just look at all of the top fragrances that I want to showcase in this video, and then we're going to look at the bottom fragrances. So ooh la la, definitely a fragrance that is not too overpowerful, but at the same time can play really well with other fragrances. The next two fragrances are very similar. So I just spoke about Milk from Commodity. Definitely this is a fragrance that I've layered with so many things and I really enjoy it. I've layered it with Side Effect by INITIO Parfum, but when you are looking for that lactonic feel with a touch of woodiness, then this one is definitely another fragrance that you can use for layering. But although I have it in the top category and is definitely a deep fragrance, is definitely a very projecting fragrance, this is a fragrance that I would go very lightly with. A couple of spritz, I don't want to overpower the other fragrance. But once you see the bottom or the base fragrances, then you'll understand why this fragrance can work really well. Simultaneously, another fragrance that is very similar as Milk by Commodity is ZADIG and Voltaire. This is another fragrance that I absolutely love to layer. Beast of a performance, obviously whipped cream and sugar and the lactonic and cozy, all the coziness in the world. So when I want to add a touch of coziness to a fragrance that could be, you know, very potentially too sexy or too dressy, and I want to just tone it down, but I want the sweetness of This Is Her, I'm telling you, it's just incredible. This is another fragrance that I have layered with Side Effect. I absolutely love this with Side Effect. I've also layered this with Arabian Stonka by Montal. I feel that they go really well, and I absolutely love it as a top fragrance. This Is Her from ZADIG and Voltaire. As we've already mentioned, Vanilla 28 is definitely the best sugary vanilla that you can add to a fragrance when you are looking to add a little bit of the vanilla. You want to amp up the vanilla. But in all transparency, when this fragrance is layered with deep fragrances, I feel that it overpowers Vanilla 28. I don't think Vanilla 28 is strong enough in order to handle these deeper fragrances. The next one I'm talking right after this is going to give you a little bit more of that floral vanilla, because obviously with the floral vanilla aspect that we have in Vanilla 28, this I layer with anything that is light or that is not necessarily as deep or is not necessarily, I would layer these with designer fragrances that are not going to be so deep that Vanilla 28 is not going to be able to shine. Or I do it in a way where it's just 1 or 2 spritz of a deeper fragrance and then Vanilla 28 all over, so that Vanilla 28 is the predominant fragrance instead of the other way around. So when we're making the cocktail, it's not only about choosing is this scent profile with this scent profile really good together in order to give me a third, like a baby of a woody vanilla, a floral vanilla, a amber vanilla. Is it a good combo? But not only that, but also realizing, okay, this fragrance is very deep, it's very potent, is super projecting. Maybe this one not so much. If I do 10 sprays of this and only 3 of Vanilla 28, is not going to work out, because obviously this deep dark fragrance is going to overpower Vanilla 28. But instead you would do, let's say 10 sprays of Vanilla 28 and maybe 1 or 2 of that deep dark fragrance that you want to add to Vanilla 28. In this scenario, we are amping Vanilla 28 to transform it into a third fragrance instead of grabbing a deeper fragrance and making it transform into a vanilla fragrance, because this will not be able to accomplish that task. But nevertheless, absolutely love it for layering almost anything. One of the combos that is super affordable and I feel that it goes really well because it doesn't overpower it is Rich, Warm and Addictive by ZARA, as well as Vanilla 28 together. These two really good babies they make. Anyways, once again, Vanilla 28 by KAYALI. The next fragrance that I want to share with you as a top fragrance that I absolutely love to layer. Again, we've already spoke about Milk that has a really good amount of vanilla and is strong. This is Her by ZADIG and Voltaire, also really strong. Vanilla 28, a little bit dimmer, a little bit lighter, but this next fragrance, I think it goes really, really well with a lot of the deeper, boozier fragrances because it has a beautiful sillage, it has really good longevity, and it's just really, really good as a fragrance, like projecting not only like the scent profile, but the longevity of this fragrance. It can hang, it can definitely hang with deeper fragrances. And I'm talking about 100 Silent Ways by NISHANE. This fragrance, guys, oh my goodness. I had left it alone for a little bit, for a while. I don't know if you could, well, yeah, my dent is not that big. But recently, I am all over this fragrance. I've layered this with Gold by Commodity. I've layered this with Rosendo Mateu No. 5. I've also layered it with Silky Woods and Invite Only by KAYALI. Almost anything could be layered with this fragrance because it has really good performance and it has a beautiful, creamy, super feminine, but with incredible performance. That's what I love about this fragrance because a lot of my feminine fragrances, they're beautiful, you know, they're very floral, they're very feminine, but I don't feel that the projection is there. I don't feel that the sillage is there. I don't feel that the longevity is there. You know, that really makes me sad because I want to smell the fragrance until I take it off. Anyways, back to this. 100 Silent Ways by NISHANE is a fragrance that definitely can hang. You can either add a touch of a deep fragrance into this to make it more woody, for example, like Silky Woods. Sorry, the bottle was backwards. Silky Woods definitely is one that you can add a touch over here. This combo, Rosendo Mateu No. 5 and NISHANE, 100 Silent Ways, guys, this you have to run now and try it. This is one of the best layering combos I've been able to do this year and I am just obsessed. This is sexy and then this brings the femininity and just it makes a bomb, a complete fragrance that I am just enjoying. Once again, 100 Silent Ways by NISHANE. And the fifth and last fragrance that I'm going to be presenting to you today as a top fragrance is another fragrance that it's super popular and I feel that it really adds a really sex appeal to a lot of the fragrances and is BACCARAT ROUGE 540 540 by MFK. This fragrance, guys, this saffron over here and the cotton candy, it just makes anything super, super sexy. I feel that, you know, obviously you also don't want to have fragrances that are very overpowering. Let me see, I layered it with Rosendo Mateu No. 5, killer combo. I've layered this with Annie by NISHANE, amazing. This is your airy cotton candy, super sexy saffron, but very airy, very crystalline. It's not heavy whatsoever. So obviously I would use this as the overall fragrance and I would add a touch of a deeper fragrance. I'm not gonna do 10 spritz of Annie by NISHANE and then 3 of BACCARAT ROUGE. No, it would be the other way around. I would do 1 or 2 of the deeper fragrance just to make this deeper, sexier, just, you know, give it that little extra oomph. To me, it's just incredible and it's a must-have. So if you have this fragrance and all of the base fragrances that I'm going, or any of the base fragrances that I'm going to be sharing with you, definitely try it. And I will tell you a little bit more in a minute which ones I absolutely love to layer this with. Anyways, once again, BACCARAT ROUGE 540 by MFK. Now we're going to talk about the base fragrances. So the fragrances that are either deeper, darker, like moodier, sexier, or more gourmand, more just gourmand, but in a deep way where you can now combine with everything else that we have spoken about already. The order, it's really to your preference, but I feel that these fragrances work really, really well. The very first one I want to talk about is Café CABANEL. This is your beautiful coffee with a touch of mandarin, but it has butter and is lactonic and it has milk. Oh guys, this is so, so good. I said in one of my recent videos that this is the perfect combination between Lyra and Minuit et Demi having a baby. This is so, so good. This fragrance does not need anything on top, but if you want to add a little bit more vanilla, you can. If you want to add a little bit more woodiness, you can. If you want to make it a little bit creamier and lactonic, you can. I would layer 100 Silent Ways. I would layer Vanilla 28. I would even layer Oh La La because it has a little bit of nuttiness and creaminess, and the creaminess of Café Cabanel, like they do really, really well together. So these are fragrances that to me, they go really, really well. If I wanted to make it even more coffee and I don't have opium or a very like espresso bitter type of coffee fragrance, then you can definitely add to this type of fragrance where now the coffee of this fragrance is going to get amped up. Whichever composition I want to make this fragrance deeper, then I would layer Café Cabanel with. Once again, Café Cabanel by Théo Cabanel. Before we're done with Théo Cabanel, there is another fragrance in the market that is very affordable. I believe it's on Amazon. I got it a little while ago. I'm going to try to link it below. Hopefully they still sell it. That I feel is very comparable to this without the coffee of this fragrance, but very similar in scent profile in case you want to have something that is a little bit more affordable and is going to smell within more or less in the same realm. It's called Tendre Madeleine by Les Senteurs Gourmandes. This, guys, is so good. This is even closer to Lira. I think Tendre Madeleine are actual like lemon cookies that you would eat in Europe with coffee. This is just very good. So very similar to Théo Cabanel without the coffee. So this is the same, but this has coffee. This doesn't. So if you already have a coffee fragrance and you want to add some of the extra sweetness and butteriness and lemon and just lemon cake of this fragrance to a coffee fragrance that you already have, let's say you have Opium, which is a very popular fragrance, then you can mix it with Tendre Madeleine. Once again, Café Cabanel by Théo Cabanel and Tendre Madeleine by Les Senteurs Gourmandes. The next fragrance that I love to layer, and I know it's a little bit bougie and it's a little bit, you know, not necessarily the fragrance that you want to layer, but I'm telling you, it is a really good fragrance to layer. So if you already have it, I would say give it a try. This is Angel's Share by KILLIAN. This is so amazing. This is your cognac, pralines, and vanilla, and tonka, and cinnamon, and it's just a holiday delight. To me, this is so gorgeous, and obviously it doesn't need anything else. But let's just say you wanted to amp up any of the scent profiles that are already there. I absolutely love to layer this with Vanilla 28, especially when your juice gets deeper like this. It's a little bit boozier and it goes really well with Angel's Share. Angel's Share is a fragrance that is so sophisticated. It smells like a apple cider or an apple pie that is warm in the holiday season. So if you have any fragrance that it's not necessarily very holiday-esque, it's not very boozy, and you want to add a touch of booziness, Angel's Share is your gal or your girl. I would layer this also very much with Milk by Commodity because the mahogany wood goes really well with the cognac here and the tonka bean. I feel that they're really good together. I wouldn't overpower Angel's Share with Milk because Milk is definitely more potent. So it would be just a touch of Milk with Angel's Share. I absolutely love this fragrance, and there is a fragrance that I'm going to share soon that is I'm actually going to share it right away. So there is another fragrance. Unfortunately, the performance is not that great. But if you are looking for something that is in this realm and you don't mind reapplying, I just mentioned Rich, Warm, and Addictive by ZARA is a little bit in the same realm of Angel's Share. This has a little bit more like tobacco, but it's very similar in terms of like the family. So if you are looking to even layer these two together to amp up Rich, Warm, and Addictive, definitely it would work out. I also love to layer this fragrance if I want to make it even deeper with something like Annie by Nishane. I didn't bring it with me. I have it in my closet, but this one with Annie goes really well. Another one that is in the same scent profile, but I feel that they go amazing together. I tried them together and it's Side Effect with Angel's Share. This is a bomb sexy fragrance. Absolutely love these two together. This one with Rosendo Mateu No. 5, also another bomb, and potentially this can go really well. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure I'm gonna try it soon, is Oh La La and Angel's Share. I feel that the creaminess of the hazelnut would go really well with the sandalwood. You see, these are two very creamy components. Hazelnuts are creamy and sandalwood is usually a creamy wood. So I feel that that would go really, really well together. I wouldn't mix this with something that is extremely floral. I wouldn't take a heavy ylang ylang or a heavy tuberose or a heavy jasmine or a heavy, patchouli and just mix it with this, because to me it wouldn't go well together. I want to either enhance what it already has within the fragrance profile, or I would just want to add a touch of this or a lot, depending, because this doesn't have, it's not a monster, so it's not going to like extremely overpower. But if I have a light fragrance that I want to make it a little bit more holiday-esque, I would even combine this with 100 Silent Ways by NISHANE. I think that they would go really well together. So I am absolutely loving this one. And Rich, Warm and Addictive by ZARA is another one that is a little bit in the same scent profile if you're looking for something a little bit more affordable. Once again, Angel's Share by KILLIAN. The next fragrance, you've already seen it, INITIO Side Effect. This is another boozy, cinnamon, tobacco, vanilla fragrance that is definitely very, very sexy, very seductive, is 100% unisex. I feel that a man smells great in it. I feel super feminine and still very seductive when I wear it as well. I absolutely love this fragrance. To me, is one of the best from the line. And this fragrance goes really, really well when you amp up the vanilla. It goes really, really well when you amp up the tonka bean. It goes really, really well when you amp up the sandalwood. But my favorite is when I amp up the vanilla, when I want to add even more sweetness. There's absolutely no florals in this composition according to what we see. And when you add a touch of floral like 100 Silent Ways by NISHANE, I think it goes really, really well. I also layered it once with BACCARAT ROUGE 540, and this combo was pretty killer as well. I absolutely loved it. Once again, INITIO Parfum Side Effect. The next fragrance that I absolutely love to have as a base as well is Invite Only by KAYALI. This is another tobacco, cinnamon, yumminess. It has amber, it has oud, so it's not necessarily deep, but it has character. This also has a note of cherry, it has honey, and a little bit of chocolate. I don't smell too much of the chocolate. This is very, very sexy. Again, all these fragrances on their own, they smell amazing. But this is another fragrance that obviously this combo gotta happen. Vanilla 28 and Invite Only works really, really well. Milk and Invite Only goes really, really well because the woody aspects, the mahogany wood from Milk really ties in with the tobacco and the oud from Invite Only, and they go really, really well together. I also love it with Ooh La La because the hazelnut and the creaminess just makes Invite Only a little bit more creamy. So this fragrance, technically it goes with a lot of different scent profiles. Again, I personally like to enhance the vanilla in a fragrance. I like to enhance the creaminess in a fragrance, or whether the sweetness is coming from a candy-like scent profile. I usually like to go in that realm. I wouldn't necessarily personally enhance the oud in this fragrance. I wouldn't necessarily enhance the woodiness in this fragrance or the tobacco aspect of this fragrance because I don't necessarily, this is as much tobacco as I can handle. I would see people layering this with Ombre Leather by Tom Ford, which is another fragrance in my wish list. If you want to add, a little bit of a leather to this tobacco and just make it super deep on a man, that would smell amazing. But personally, I wouldn't feel as feminine in this particular scent profile. So I definitely lean more towards anything that is vanilla, creamy, tonka bean or sandalwood. And if it's going to be nutty, because this is already a little bit deep, then it has to have a lot of sweetness, such as Milk or the sweetness from This Is Her by ZADIG and Voltaire. But anyways, this is another really, really good base fragrance that you can layer with so many things. This would also go really, really well with Tendre Madeleine because it has just that lemon cake kind of aspect that you can add to Invite Only, making this fragrance just a touch bit more gourmand. Anyways, once again, this was Invite Only by KAYALI. The next base fragrance that I absolutely love to layer, I just shared it. I think I gave the tea just way too early. Rosendo Mateu number 5. I absolutely love this fragrance by itself. It's my new baby. I am just in awe with how good this fragrance smells to me. This is so sexy, and like I said a little bit earlier, this and NISHANE was such a big win. 100 Silent Ways by NISHANE was incredible. I absolutely loved this fragrance. I was gonna layer it with Annie, but then I was like, you know, that's a little bit too deep because Annie is no joke and it's very spicy, and this is spicy, and then it's too much spicy. I definitely went for the creaminess, the sweetness, the vanilla aspects, and just made this fragrance even more feminine. As I said also earlier, Baccarat Rouge, the saffron with this fragrance is no joke. I also like to layer it with, there is another fragrance that I didn't talk about, I didn't bring here, because there's so many possibilities, guys. It's not really rocket science, and I always, you know what I always do? I always make a little bit of a test. I spray one fragrance that I enjoy, and then right on top another fragrance that I'm curious about. I'm like, oh, I wonder if these two would smell good together. I put them and then I wait. Obviously I let them, you know, get married and, you know, mingle and dingle and do their thing, and then I start smelling and testing, and I see how long it lasts. And that's how I discover fragrances. I don't just look at my bottles and I just, sometimes that has happened, I'm like, oh, these two would go well together, but that's just because I know what the notes are about. So again, saffron with Rosendo Mateu number 5, amazing. This as well with milk goes really well. I keep on like not having the labels in the right direction, I'm sorry. Rolling in Love with Rosendo Mateu goes really well together. I love the almondy. It's very almondy and a little bit creamy and very romantic. For the most part, I would make this my primary fragrance. So your primary fragrance is going to be the one that you're going to spritz the most, and then this would become my secondary fragrance. So not necessarily, so technically this would become my top, even though this is a bottom fragrance, because I'm making myself smell more like Rolling in Love, more almondy, and then I'm adding a touch of the strength of Rosendo Mateu number 5 because it's a really strong fragrance. Anyways, all great concoctions. They all mix really well together. I feel that this fragrance can technically do no wrong. I know it's very polarizing and some people are not really enjoying it. If you can, try before you buy. I bought a decant before I got this fragrance and I absolutely loved it. Once again, Rosendo Mateu number 5. The next fragrance is one of the smoothest oud fragrances in my collection. It's so smooth, I didn't even know it had oud. It's so good and I absolutely love it. I also already showed it to you guys. Silky Woods by Goldfield and Banks. This is such an amazing sandalwood bomb. This is beautiful. It's so well blended. You can barely tell what are the fragrances. This also has cinnamon and it also has saffron, but it has oud and definitely very predominant in the sandalwood in the most creamy and sophisticated ways. This is one of the fragrances that I was waiting for the cooler weather to wear, and it's a great fragrance to wear on its own. For me, particularly in the type of composition that it has, I was expecting a much more like potent type of fragrance. I was expecting something that would have incredible sillage, like it would just like announce me before I got there, but it's not that type of fragrance. It's beautiful and it smells amazing, and if you over spray, you're going to get, you know, a good 2 or 3 hours of really good projection, but then it slowly starts to die down, and that is one of the reasons why I started just layering this fragrance with something else to see if I can make it last even longer, to see if I can just pass that mark, because I absolutely love it. And again, if you overspray, I'm just usually not necessarily an oversprayer, but if you overspray, you can definitely make this fragrance last a long time, but it's so good. I absolutely love it. So this is another fragrance that would go really well with anything that is creamy. So again, I don't want to, you know, beat a dead horse. Milk, ZADIG and Voltaire, this is her. These are two very creamy fragrances that would definitely make this fragrance smell great. Oh my god, I'm just here for it. So definitely with Vanilla 28, it goes great. It goes great with 100 Silent Ways. It goes great with all of the top fragrances I've mentioned. Now, when I want to deepen it, when I want to make it even sexier, then this one I love to layer with Side Effect. Side Effect and this goes really well together. I feel that the tobacco in Side Effect and the cinnamon and they're very similar composition, but this has a little bit of creaminess that you're missing in Side Effect. So this would be 2, maybe 3 spritz, and then go ham on this, like 10 spritz if obviously you're wearing it for a night out or something like that. But these two together, I'm telling you, they go really, really well. I absolutely love them on me. They are just incredible. I'm not sure if I'm blinding you with this bottle, but oh my God, I just absolutely love it. Pretty much layer with anything. It's very creamy and it has a touch of pretty much all of the notes that would be really popular during the cooler days. And it's just incredible. Absolutely love it. I know that a lot of people have it already, so play with your fragrances, definitely layer them, and let me know in the comments below if you have tried any of these concoctions. Once again, Silky Woods by Goldfield and Banks. And these were some of the fragrances that I wanted to share with you that you should give a try this fall and winter, and just mix them and layer them. Let me know if you have any special concoctions of your own that you'd like to share with the rest of us. I would love to learn from you. Thank you so much for joining me in another video. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked any of the fragrances. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be in the know the next time I drop a video. Until the very next time, my lovelies, big kiss, bye-bye.